Hey everybody, Nomad Coder here. Um, this is a challenge that was pretty interesting when I spent like 2 days on it and then saw what the solution actually was. And I really don't know how people can figure this stuff out. Like, I'll never be that good, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to make a quick video showing it. Sorry, I have my fan on, so I don't know if it's affecting the sound. It's pretty close to the microphone, but it's hot as hell, and I'm in the car, so hence the Nomad Coder. Now this here, we'll just go through the description real quick. It's basically you're summing the number they give you. A step X operation. I should get Speechify to read this for me, huh? I wish I knew how. Okay, the step X operation works like this. It changes the number X into X minus the sum of X, where the sum of X is the sum of X's digits. You like applying functions to numbers, I guess. So given the number n, you decide to build a decreasing sequence of numbers, n, step n, step n, etc., with 0 as the last element. Don't worry, that'll make more sense when you see the example. Building a single sequence isn't enough for you, so you replace all the elements of the sequence with the sum of their digits. Now you're curious as to which number appears in the new sequence most often. If there are several answers, return the maximal one, so the highest value, so like 8 or 9, return 9. If they both have the same frequency of occurrence within the array you form by doing the step operation. So in the example, 88, you go 8 plus 8 is 16. So you subtract that from itself, so that's 72, so they show you 88, 72. 7 plus 2 is 9, subtract it from itself, 63, and if you know your times tables, that's just going to keep being 9 all the way down. And here is the sum of X for each of its elements, 16, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, and then the last one is 0. There aren't 0 occurrences of 0, so I'm not really sure because there's not 9 occurrences of 0. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it doesn't really matter, I guess, for the sake of the logic for this. As you can see, most frequent number in the sequence is 9. For 8, the output should be 8. You go 8 plus 0, blah, blah, blah. So anything under 9 is going to, or anything under 10 is going to be itself. So that's our example. So here's the code that took me forever to get to. I have to say I wasn't really eating a lot, and probably my brain wasn't working the best when I was writing this, so it probably took me way longer than it should have, but here's what I came up with, and I'll just go through and comment this. Okay. I'm going to figure it all out. So our first comment will be, we just have a guard here. Anything under 10, just return itself. Then this is just a simple function to sum the elements in the array. So that's the SX part of the description over here, which is just taking in an array and then doing a loop. This is a length caching loop, so this would be equivalent to like a for loop. But we're using while, and then we're getting the length before we go into a loop, so it doesn't have to keep calling the length on every iteration. And then we have, we're just adding the next element to itself. Is pretty basic. And then this function gets frequency of the elements in an array. And then this basically takes in the array and reduces it into a object container. I don't know, I started with something off Stack Overflow, and this is what I ended up with. So you get a container back, or an object called container with an object inside of it that contains a bunch of arrays or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And then this gets the max of the frequency of elements array. So, get max value from array or something. I don't know what it does. Something along those lines. And then highest element value goes in the array. And I had to do this because standard JavaScript wasn't going to work because of the way that the container thing was. So that's a good lesson there that wasted me a ton of time, was trying to copy paste something off Stack Overflow that looked good, but then in the end was just something I had to work around through the whole rest of the time I was writing the code because of the way it was made or whatever. It made it so that I had to do this that I'm doing now with the highest element value. If you look over here, hold on, sorry. Look over here. These like one deals here are why I had to do that, because there's arrays inside of an object, and like I couldn't use, well, you know, I probably could have used JavaScript, standard JavaScript on it, but I didn't know what would do that. So I basically had to write my own functions. It would just been faster. So then count the value, same thing. I had to like drill down into the array, so I had to make a custom little helper function or whatever you want to call that. And then find key from value, again, drill down into the array, so I had to make my own so that it would work. And then find highest key value. Honestly, I don't even know what this does. This is why you want to write well-commented code and write readable code that your variables make sense to you, because it's some nested ternary. I don't even want to know what that does. And then like we're done with our functions, and here we are with like some actual like main logic, our main block or whatever. And then this obviously sums the digits. Ron helped me with this one. My brother Ron helped me write that one. He actually wrote it. And then I was trying to use what he gave me to eliminate this kind of ugly loop here, but I wasn't able to get it to work right, and so I gave up and just went with the ugly loop. And then so this loop goes through, and it just has it creates an array, an empty array, and while the number is greater than 0, it sums the elements, right? Yeah, so then you're going to get the sum of n to string. So n's not an array, so n to string, and then split that string, so it's like, you know, instead of a number, it's like 88 will be 8, an array of 8 and 8, you know, 2 elements. And so then it sums those elements, and then pushes them into the sum x array, and then subtracts the sum of the digits of the number added together, and subtracts it. You know, that should make sense, I hope. And then at the end it pushes a 0, because that's what the example array had in it, so whatever. And then some console logging, and then we just create the array of frequencies with this little object entries thing, and calling that frequency of elements thing, and then we get that container back. So I think it's an object, actually, I don't even freaking know. But then we return the highest value, right? So yeah, count value, frequency, something or other, find highest value, blah blah blah. All those functions I was just showing you all work together to get the right return value. So that was cool. That took me a really long time. It's a bunch of stupid, messy code. And what is that? A good, you know, 75 lines of code or so. And then so I was like, wow, that's awesome. Okay, I'm done. And then I realized when I saw somebody else's answer that I could just go like all this crap. I don't need it, really. All I need is this, if you can believe it. If you can believe it. And that's what I'm saying. You have to be genius level, okay? Hold on, I gotta move this. Genius level who have figured this out is the answer to this question. I'm sorry. I'm never going to get there. That's just, I'm not that smart. But yeah, test all the tests. I submit it. It works. It's good. That's the answer. And if you're like Rain Man on crack, you might figure that out. But it ain't me, son. For the trip, though. That's how tricky these guys are. They write these kind of challenges, and then you do all this work, and then they're like, "Yeah, stupid. This was the answer." And you're like, "Oh, I guess I'm an idiot." Anyway, don't like, don't subscribe, don't click notifications. I do not care. Yeah.